Okay, let me comment on QSL card to begin with. And that is one of my old advanced class cards. Very nice card, pretty picture. But if you look at the back side, there's nowhere on there do you find my call sign. That's a mistake. If you have a double-sided card, you should have your call on the back. The reason being, if you're dealing with a QSL manager and you're exchanging cards, he has to keep flipping the card back and forth, and that's a problem. So your card should carry the call sign on both sides if it's two-sided. This was my original advance card, and unfortunately, a nice design, but the call sign's not on the back. Poor design. Okay, now you're seeing an N4FN card?
Yes.
Good. We're in business. I had this thing about eagles. What can I tell you? And all of my cards have eagles. And this type of card, you'll notice I have my call sign on the back, and the information is all on the back. Nice picture on the front. What this is a label. I have switched to labels, so it makes it easier to handle the QSL cards. Not all QSL cards follow the typical format. This card, which I hope you can see from ZL2 IFB, is Gary Hinson. And Gary is a Brit who now lives in the Big Island, North Island, not Big Island, North Island of New Zealand. And you'll hear about him more later. Okay, old QSL card, back to the Spark Gap days. I just put that in
Oh
just to
my.
show you and remind the old guys this is what we used to call a penny postcard, and it was a penny postcard. International reply coupon. I used to call these monopoly money because not many of them got into play, and the U.S. Post Office no longer issues them, but they have to redeem them because they're members of the Universal Postal Union. The big problem is finding somebody in the post office who knows what they are. The last, that's right. The last batch I restored, I took about a dozen of them before they were going to expire to my local post office. And fortunately, there was a temporary guy in there, and he looked at them. He said, "Oh my gosh." He said, "I haven't seen these in years." He said, "The only people that ever have them are the ham radio guys." And I said, "Guilty." And he redeemed the for 12 airmail stamps. Originally, when looking at the old IRCs, they were only good for surface mail. Since everything goes now airmail, you had to have two of these multiple IRCs. If you look at this one for 11 cents or whatever it is, it's a valid one because it has, and I'm hoping you can see my cursor, it has a postmark. This is valid. This is not valid because there's no issuing postmark, and this one is not valid. So if you had one like that, you probably could not get it redeemed. It has to have an issuing cancellation. This one from the Isle of Man. This is not the way to send a QSL card. This is actually one that was sent to a QSL manager for Cure, and that's a nightmare. These two, don't ever do anything like that. Oops. Previous paper QSL card, log books. I still have my original logbooks. And when I decided to digitize them, I was talking with a chap on 20 meters down in Florida. And I said, I'd love to digitize my logbooks. He says, oh, I've done that for a bunch of people. He said, I love doing it. I said, what will you charge me? He said, how many logbooks have you got? I said, three full logbooks. Oh, he says, send it to me. So I FedExed it to him. About a week later, I got my logbooks along with a couple of 3.5 inch, if you remember those, floppy disks, everything digitized. And he didn't want anything, but I found out exactly where he lived. I sent him a nice gift certificate to a local restaurant. I looked it up and I said, you take your wife out for a couple of nice dinners on me. Really, really good guy. This is one of my favorite ones. Thank you, Carl. Okay, now let's talk about logging programs. There are a bunch of logging programs for Windows. Mac, not as many, but it seems to be building. Any one that you like is good. I've been using Ham Radio Deluxe for years, back when Simon Brown had it and was living in Switzerland and then sold it off. And I just like it. I'm used to it. It does everything I want to do. Besides the Mac, you also have for the Linux fans programs that will work. Okay, let's talk about the QSL service. Outgoing QSL cards for paper QS cards, you have to be an ARRL member to use the outgoing bureau. You should not send any domestic cards except the W1AW Centennials. That was an exception. Or DX calls via a USA manager. They will not process them, they'll toss them. Not all countries participate in a QSL bureau because they don't have bureaus. And cost is by the pound or ounce, and the cards must be sorted. So it's $2 for 10 or fewer cards, $3, 11 to 20, and over 21 cards, it's 75 cents per ounce. So about 225 cards will cost you $18, which is a lot cheaper than if you sent them. It has to be sorted by prefix. For example, England uses several different prefixes now. M as in Mike and the number 2, but they're put in there as under G because the sorters, if you remember what the old time post offices looked like with the little pigeonholes, that's the way they sort them. It's a good way to return QSLs by the Bureau. Don't be in a rush if you want them back. It takes well over a year. My record was personally was 14 years. And when it came in, I couldn't believe it. It was a 14-year-old contact. Some clubs, like the DX club that I belong to, will bunch them and ship them in bulk. And you go to the ARR website to look for the non-participating countries. And it's a good way to send contest QSL cards. It's not for everyone. When you want to make a submission, you have to fill out this form, and it outlines everything for you. It's downloaded from, excuse me, the ARR website. If you are sorting cards, remember to make sure if there's a manager involved, put the manager plain so you will see what's happening and where it needs to go. If you mail to a fellow amateur, do not, do not put call sign on the envelope. A lot of people do it. It's a mistake. In a lot of third world countries, the postal people know that ham radio envelopes may contain currency. Some guys will tell you don't send their call sign on the envelope, but I'm telling you, don't do it. There's an incoming bureau. That is a free benefit. You have to be a member of the ARL to use the outgoing bureau, but the incoming bureau is a free benefit. And I use the fourth call just as an example because it's mine, but they're all, each call area has a bureau and it's determined by the prefix in your call sign. So if you're not in the fourth call area, look at the ARO website for the proper bureau. I use the Sterling Park Amateur Radio Club, and some of the bureaus will use cash accounts. You can tell them, send them X amount of dollars, and they'll take care of your cards for you. Use a 5x7 or 6x9 envelope, nothing larger. The list of sorters is listed on the website. For many years, Paul Greaves, W4FC, has been my sorter, and I work directly with him. He's become a good friend, and we send each other funny stuff. I use the forever stamps, so you know they're not going to run out. And I sometimes will put a couple of bucks in because sometimes people don't put enough postage. So you can help him with that or her. I use, if you can, use self-stick non-clasp envelopes. The post office does not like the clasp envelopes and they will mess it up. I usually put one forever stamp on an envelope and I number them, 1 of 6, 2 of 6, etc. And a lot of sorters will send you a note when you're sending your last envelope. Put your call sign in the upper left-hand corner in large plain letters. That's how they keep track of it. This is a sample of one of my envelopes, and I just say additional postage will be paid by the addressee, and that helps. This is a service provided to all of us. It does not require membership. However, the outgoing QSL service, as I said earlier, does require it. We should be members of the league. They look out after our hobby for us. They don't do everything I agree with, but that's the way it is. And remember, the incoming bureau is staffed by volunteers. This, to me, is one of the most wonderful things the league has done for the hobby. Logbook of the World. Logbook is not a logbook. I wish they had used another name for it. It's a repository for your log, and you'll upload your information into LOTW. Why does LOTW exist? Why bother with it? It's simple. Makes confirming contacts easier, quicker, and cheaper than traditional QSL methods. And that's from Gary Henson, ZL2IFB, G4IFB. If you have to digitize a paper log, Fast Log Entry by DF3 Charlie Bravo is a good program. It's fast and easy, provided you can still what you scrawled. What is Logbook of the World? It's a repository of log records submitted by users from around the world. That's all it is. When two stations make a contact and exchange QSL cards, they're sharing the information from their logbooks that is common to their contact. It's double blind. You cannot see another user's log. They cannot see yours. A paper logbook in your shack can only be viewed by you. Logbook of the Logbook of the World confirmation. This is actually what you could see if you bring up the contact, both sides, once it's been confirmed. Essentially the same does not mean identical. LOTW allows some of the details, such as time and frequencies. The time element with LOTW is 30 minutes either way of the contact. Club log is more restrictive. We'll talk about that later. It's 15 minutes either side. So that's something you want to keep in mind. Make sure your timing is correct. What about special situations? Doesn't matter. Home, portable, mobile, maritime, manages, expedition. You can set it up to process the logs, have different accounts, no problem. Very flexible. Is it secure? It is absolutely secure because all records must be digitally signed using a certificate obtained from the ARRL. How much does it cost? LOTW is free. Membership is not required to use LOTW. U.S. hams must be ARRL members to apply for the awards. However, if you're not interested in the awards, you can use the LOTW. You can upload logs, view data anytime, no charges or fees. Oh, it's free. Did I say it was free? I know, hams hate free. Application fees, you're going to pay if you're applying for an award, you'll pay the application fee and QSO fees. No different than making a paper application. However, most of the fees are discounted in LOTW. It's a lot less than doing it the other way. QSL cards LOTW does not replace QSL card collecting. It doesn't produce paper cards. Other forms are complementary. And I enjoy making contacts, still use cards, as you saw earlier. People like looking at them. I keep my first contact in a photo album with clear plastic pockets, usually in the order that I have received them. So there's something for everybody. Okay. Why is it different than EQSL or other line QSL services? Because it uses a private key and public key technology, users are verified and data uploaded to the system is secure. That is not the same with some of these online QSL services. It's constantly comparing uploaded data for matches. There are no paper cards printed that have the potential to be altered. Years ago, I was a QSL card checker for the league, and I had a fellow present a card, and he had written on the card the contact was sent to him for 18 megahertz. Well, he thought he was going to be cute, and he put a period in between the 1 and the 8 and submitted it as a 160 contact. And I looked at it and I just said to him very nicely, would you please tell me how you made a 160-meter contact in the middle of the afternoon? And that was the end of that. Okay, what can you do with LOTW? You can display an account status that shows all of the cards that you're going to submit via LOTW. What happens is when you submit them, the contacts will move over to this column saying they're in process. It'll keep track of your credits, total and current. And there's a reason for that. And you can also view a credit card matrix, which I will show you. Okay. Okay. You can apply for awards, track credits, view the matrix, track WAS credits, and track VUCC credits. They also have an agreement where they'll track some of the CQ awards, even though CQ magazine unfortunately does not exist. You can search QSOs and QSLs. Easy, easy peasy. You can view QSL details. Earlier you saw the slide that showed the breakdown. Track WPX and WAZ, worked all zone, and actually the awards are still available, but not through CQ magazine, pardon me. TQSL is the software that Logbook of the World uses to securely upload your logs. TQSL is free to download and use. It's also available for Mac, and for the Linux folks, it's supported by the Linux community. TQSL uses a standard Windows installer. That's what it looks like. It may be slightly different now as they've modernized. That's an older view of the installer. Still looks pretty much the same. LOTW, as a review, only accepts trusted files. Trusted files are created by TQSL. It uses the call sign certificate to electronically sign the trusted file. Authentication is only required when you are creating a new Logbook of the World user account. But wait a minute. What do I hear about getting a card in the mail? U.S. operators will get a postcard listed in the address listed in database. Non-U.S. must email or mail a copy of their permit and identification with any personal numbers blacked out. And it depends if it's something that's kind of rare. For example, if somebody says, oh, I want a certificate for North Korea, I can guarantee you that's going to get some scrutiny. The request is authenticated before sending the key. When you attest a call sign certificate, you are requesting a key. It's only required when you're creating a new LOTW user account. There are three types of trusted files. A TQ5 is a request for a call sign certificate. TQ6 is a response to a TQ5 request, and a TQ8 is a signed log file. Sending a secure log file is just like sending a log in a lockbox from a bank. The soft TQSL will unlock the box and sends it to LOTW. The call sign certificate encrypts the log file and acts as a lock. When your lock file is received at LOTW, they use the same key to unlock the box that was used to lock it at your location. The keys and locks must match, or the file cannot be opened. The next step is to request a call sign certificate, and you do that in TQSL. You go to where it says call sign certificate, the drop-down menu, and you request a certificate. Applying for the first certificate is easy. You install TQSL, you run it, request a certificate, submit the license and ID for verification for non-US hams. For US hams, you enter the validation code, etc. Then you load the certificate, define the station locations, you make a backup. You should always make a backup. It's easy. Just fill out a form, name, call sign, email, etc. TQSL program will offer to send your certificate request for you. You say yes. I want to upload it. After your request is processed, you'll get a TQS6 response. And accepting your TQ6 file is a simple mouse click. Because the TQ5 and TQ6 are matched, you must accept it on the same computer you sent it. So can I use this only on one computer? Absolutely not. Using the backup and restore utilities in TQSL, you can transfer it to other computers. And you can use a thumb drive or any method you want to back up and restore to another computer. But I use programs like N3FJP, Ham Radio Deluxe, QRZ, DX Lab. How does that work? You go to your logging applications website for support pages for using their product with TQSL and LOTW. Recap. LOTW only accepts trusted files. TQSL is the software. A TQ8 is a signed encrypted log file that gets uploaded. TQSL creates the TQ8 and uploads it to LOTW. The information is in your ADIF or Cabrillo file. This is what's in the file. ADIF stands for Amateur Data Interchange Format. It lets you send in the data, and Cabrillo is a simpler, it's a text format. Most of the contest stations use Cabrillo files, and but LOTW will read both. I use ADIF because I'm not a contester. Okay. Periodically, if you're using TQSL, it will say there's an updated file. You click on OK, and it then loads it in, takes a couple of seconds, and it's done. And you keep it up to date. Doesn't cost anything. Okay, let's look at the TQ8 file. The TQ8 file is similar to a QSL card. The call sign and the entity are embedded in the certificate. The information is in your ADIF or Cabrillo file. The station location and your grid square, ITU zones, etc., are all in the TQ8 file. Most logging applications can be configured to execute TQSLs, signing, upload, and download for one seamless operation. This is what the TQSL looks like. This happens to be one of mine. And this little medallion means that it's a valid certificate. Where you don't see that little gold emblem, like here, it's pending. So you can tell by the icon whether it's good or not, or whether it's valid. You can request and load a call sign certificate right from here, or you can renew. It's all done from TQSL. Here's what TQSL looks like. And you'll sign the log, or you can save it for later, or you can create the file, or you can log into LOTW right from the TQSL folder. TQSL is pretty smart. If you upload it and you've already uploaded it, it's going to send you an error message that it detected a duplicate. Now, you may have a particular reason for doing that, but normally I do not send a duplicate. Logbook of the world. Here's where we get into the nitty-gritty. When you log in, you're going to use your username, which always is going to be your call sign, and you have a password that you created. It's not the password sent to US managers via a postcard. It's different. And so you have to tell it to accept cookies. And then you can go directly to the ARR website. When you open up the LOTW, you want to look at your QSLs. This is the window you will see. You can have it display most recent QSLs or most recent QSOs, which are different. Okay, I told it to display in this sample, this is an old log sheet, the most recent QSOs. What's different is where it's blank, it means that it has not been confirmed yet. Where it shows the entity, it's been confirmed in LOTW. So that's the difference. Here's something interesting. Forget this. This was an error with the /8. You see Kosovo, it's been confirmed. You see here, it's not because it was not a valid contact. The country of Kosovo, as far as the ARL, didn't exist in 2012. It existed later. And this is how you select QSLs. For example, I said I want to only see Z6 contacts, and you put an asterisk. It's a wild card. Either that or a question mark. Well, both of those are wild cards. And when you do that, it will show all of the contacts you made using the prefix Zulu 6 or Z6. You can do an overall look at different things, worked all states, VUCC. You can do all of that by clicking on the LOTW window. This is the awards, and this actually is mine. It's an old one, and it shows columns. For example, here, it's showing one QSL card is pending. It hasn't been logged in yet. This is showing what contacts are in progress, which would mean I made a submission. I have not made a submission. So it says, okay, you have 347 countries or entities confirmed in LOTW. Total current, why do we see that? Because total current only applies for certain awards. You never lose contact for deleted entities, but for 5-band DXCC and the honor roll, it only will take into account the current count, which in this case is 340. If you look at this, it says, okay, this is all the awards that have been issued. The challenge, I'm over 1,700, and also 12, 17, and 30 meter, so for 8 bands. You can display the matrix, and it will tell you, for example, Abu Ale no longer exists, it's deleted, but I've worked it, mixed and phone. Why it doesn't show the band? Because years ago, the record, before 1990, the record keeping was different. Those who have been using it before, remember, used to get the report on what we called green bar paper. It was that wide stuff, the print matrix printer. Well, it's different now. So here you're displaying it in order by prefix. You can also do it alphabetically. And I use that most of the time. So it shows you, for example, let's take Alaska. Okay, Alaska. I've worked at Mixed, Phone, CW, RT. They have to change this. This stood for RIDI because back in the days when it was RIDI was the only digital mode, they just never changed that column. But that takes into account digital now. So RT really means digital. And it shows now 80 meters as a contact. And you have to look at it to see what mode was it. You can look that up. Okay, you want to make a submission to LOTW, or you want to do see all the credits. So here I said, okay, I want to see everything I worked on 15 meters, and I want to see what I've done by name. So here it lists, this is partial. And if I clicked on this, it will display the information about the contact. You can do that in the matrix. You can do it by name or by prefix. When you get ready to make a submission, you can use this form to apply for a new endorsement. You click on it where it says application. It will then say, okay, these are confirmed. I want them all. And the system will tell you what mode it was and what band. This will tell it what the mode is. So you tell it update and save selections, continue. And it will ask you, have you made an application? It doesn't matter what you put in there, yes or no. Just tell it continue. And that is the actual application form that you will fill out. It's online. And it tells you what's new, digital, etc. Here is where they're using the term digital. And you fill the information out, and then it tells you what the application fee is. It's $5.50 plus $1 for a credit slip, and the 13 credits at 12 cents. You can't get a confirmation from anybody for 12 cents. And then you go ahead. If you're one of the big diamond club, you don't have any fees. Okay, just a TQL status. This to me is fascinating. This is as of today, 2,099,000,000 QSL records are in the system. That's how many records have resulted, how many users, how many certificates are active, and how many user files have been processed. Fascinating. The online DXCC application. Using this, you can select the cards. If you have paper cards that you have to take to a checker at his or her convenience, you put that into a form. It can be retrieved at any time. You'll take the form, print out the cards, take out with a list of cards, take it to the checker in the order they're entered, and then you can send the forms. The checker will send the forms to the league, or if you haven't got a checker convenient, you can send the form with the cards and they will check it and then return the cards to you. The card checkers are the same as before, but the difference is where before they had to enter all the information, type it into the system, the errors could happen. And the prevents this because it's already uploaded to the system and it's sitting there waiting. So waiting for that form, the rates are half of those of paper QSL card. Okay, just advantages, lower rates, accuracy, because nothing on that you filled out by hand gets screwed up when it gets typed in. It's happened to me, and it's a mess to get straightened out. So it's speed. It's very fast. I made one a week ago, and 2 or 3 days later, I had credits in my account. And there was a period of time when the system was really backlogged because of the serious hack to the system, and that was a mess. That's been taken care of. So here you go. Way to go. This is the online DXCC form. And for example, ON6VL, I happen to know who that is. It's my friend Vito Leo. And you'll type in the date in the U format. You're going to put the band in. You're going to put the mode in and the Belgium. You have to be careful here because there are a number of entities that share a common prefix. And if that's the case, you'll see this little arrow here. It'll give you a drop down, and you have to tell it what the entity is. And then you say save. And when you do that, this takes you, I had to split this because it's a long page. This is the enter part, and this is where you're looking at all of the contacts. And here's Vanuatu, and it's digital 30 meters, etc., and the date, and CW contacts, and then digital. So that's how you submit this form. You do that online, you print it out, and that's it. This to me is a gem. The online QSL request service, OQRS. That is Michael Wells. It's a bloody genius. He is the author of Club Log, and it's an online league table and statistics system for DXs and an expedition log hosting tool. Again, it's a repository for your log. And that is Michael. Nice chap. Great program. Okay. When you go to log in, you're going to put your call sign in. You want to see what new DXECs are in. Filter mode, you can tell it, and you say run the search, and it will search. When you make a submission, in the past, they used to send you an acknowledgement every time you made a submission. It was so much overhead with that, they stopped that. The only time they make a comment or a receipt error is when you've made an error. And for example, it's saying, in this case, sorry, but the call sign that you entered is not correct. And they have corrected it in the system to show the correct, which means that it's also a warning to me. I have to go back to LOTW. Once it's entered into LOTW, you can't change it. You have to put it in again with the proper entity. This alone is just wonderful. Okay. One of the features, and you don't have to be a user of Club Log, a registered user, but it's easy. It's free. Doesn't cost anything. It will tell you, for example, recently that the Prince Edward Marion Islands, it says when they first came on the air, when they went off the air, how many QSOs, how many uniques, how many dupes. And where you see this here, that little cart thing, it means that this station is using OQRS to get the confirmations. But here you have to make a submission different. One of the wonderful things that Club Log does is what it's called live streaming. And you can go to a live stream. For example, this is Bahrain, and this dot, or whatever you want to call it, shows that it had been on 2 meters, 10 meters recently, but it's off now. Where you have this, that means that they're on. So the streaming, what it does within a few seconds of making a valid contact, your call sign is going to appear in this streaming window right here. And you can see if you made the contact or not. If your call doesn't appear, you didn't make the contact. That's the streaming. And that is so slick. It eliminates dupes, hopefully. Okay, how does it work for DXs? DXs who want a card, they go into OQRS to check whether they're in the station's log. And this is something that Bob had asked me about for a friend of his. You do a log search, and you will go in the log search, you'll put in the call sign of the station that you want. You should be a member, but it's not required. Anybody can do it. You can then request the card if that's the way they're doing it. And the amount that they ask is really modest. Foreign postage is, in some cases, is very expensive. So if you get something where they're asking $4 or $5 for a number of cards, that's not unreasonable because their postage is very expensive. It also gives you the option of making a donation if you want to do that. You can do that easily. Okay, okay. I thought it did it. This is what you do. You put in the log to search 7 Quebec 7 RU. That is the Russian Robinson Club. They're a very active group of Russians that like Africa. They're all over. 7Q, it happens to be Malawi. So I put in my call sign to check, and I say show contacts, and it will come back and says, okay, you made a 20 and a 17-meter CW contact, 20, 17, and 15, excuse me, FT8 contacts. Then I'll click where it says request QSL card. Keeps doing that, doubling. Okay. It then shows you a confirmation because you've loaded in your contact earlier into Club Log. And it recognized that, yep, you got these 5 contacts. And I say request QSL. And then it will automatically, if you've loaded the information in, it will automatically fill in the windows. Now, where it says requested, there's no way for me to show it without that, but it means that I've requested it, and it's saying request again. No, you have the option of putting in direct, and then it will change. So this is what it looks like, and it will, if there's a disagreement, it's usually a timing error. Remember, I said Club Log is plus or minus 15 minutes, more restrictive. Great program. There's another thing that you can bring up with Club Log, and it will tell you the most active modes. This is interesting to me. The most active modes recently were CW, FT8, and sideband, less than 5% of the use. And it will break it down, FT8, etc. Wonderful, wonderful source of information. My friend Gary Hinson, I'm not going to go through all of these. He's got a wicked sense of humor. And he says he's tired of hearing 599 all at where you can barely hear the station. So he says R9 armchair, no problem. We go down to R4, you're challenging. And then he goes seriously challenging. And R2 ESP level. It was fun to read, and that's Gary Henson. He's a great guy. Gary Henson um, has written several manuals. They're online. You can get a LOTW new user guide. He's always updating it, an FT8 operating guide, and then the FOC guide on Morse proficiency. You can go find them on ZL2 IFB and G4 or G4 IFB. He'll have a link to those, excuse me, to those guides, and they're great. I printed them out. Take a couple of seconds. Everybody's proud of their station. Let me remind you that I've been at this for 65 years, and it took 65 years to build a station. This is what it used to look like. I had two old cupboards and a desktop that I got from Home Depot, and it was not an easy station to work. Why you see the coax like this is how I had to disconnect. So I had to do it like so and then make them. So this is what I call before. And when I took everything away, this is what was behind it. And I called it the rat's nest. And that's really was a rat's nest. Well, that's really not me, but that was my weird sense of humor. But that's probably what it would have been looking at it behind. This is what it looks like now. And my friend Paul Kelly, W4KLY, who's in the guards group, he and his son Scott are master cabinet makers. They have an incredible shop, and they came in, measured, did a design, and this is what they came up with. And this is really what my station looks like now. One addition in here, I now have a small monitor that will show the screen like so, because I'm looking at the monitors, and this, of course, is a geochron. If somebody has good eyes, they'll see this wine bottle over here. There actually is a winery in Australia called Morse Code Winery. And that label, by the way, if you can read it, see it clearly, it says Chardonnay. There was another one which I tried to get. I can't remember what the wine was, but I couldn't find it, and they no longer distribute it in the US. This is the album I keep my QSL cards in. It's a 4x6 photo album because some of the metric cards are slightly larger than 3.5x5, so it allows for those metric cards to fit. And this is the way I operate. This is Logbook of the World with the rotor control here. I control my rotor for the hex beam from here, and the geochron. This is how I get to the back of the station. When they designed this, they gave me 3 feet. They brought it out from the wall, 3 feet. So I'm sorry. Let me back up one more, I think. Okay. You can see I have enough room to get to everything and all the cabling. It's easy to work with. This happens to be, if you're seeing the cursor, the power supply for the KPA 1500, and that's my printer. I don't need it to look at it. It's not so beautiful, but this is open. And then they did something that was very clever. They made a drop down so you don't it's black on you don't see through the cabinet. This was my old station. It's changed. I no longer have all of that equipment. I really need to update that. My 15 minutes of fame. I made the cover of CQ magazine in 2018. What I'm holding in my hand, I'm a Supermarine Spitfire nut. Having grown up in World War II, the Supermarine Spitfire was an incredible plane. This is a Morse code key, brand new from a Spit. And if you look at this above it, it's the actual indicator lamp from a Spitfire. The Morse code key did not key a transmitter. It keyed the lamp, and there were two of them, one on the top of the fuselage and one on the bottom, because of having the silence on transmissions because of radio silence in World War II. So my thanks to the ARRL, to Sharon Tarantula and Kathy Allison at the desk, my friend Gary Henson, and my wife Nancy, who accuses me of writing the world's longest run-on sentence because I start at the first letter and I don't punctuate worth a flip. Sharon Tarantula heads up the DXCC desk. She's a great lady. She's not a ham, but you talk about one lady that's really sharp. Kathy is a ham, and the fellow in charge of the rewards department is Bart Yankee, K9JJ, also a nice chap. For my British cousins, this is a takeoff on a World War poster, which originally had the Royal Crown. And as I recall, Phil can correct me if I'm wrong, this was green on the background, but it said keep calm and carry on. So this was something somebody came up with. That's it, folks.
Well, thank you, Neil. It was very interesting. Hope everybody got something out of it and learned something.
Well, I hope so. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to drop me a note and, I'll be happy to follow it up. But LOTW is a boon. It's a great program. Unfortunately, a lot of foreign stations think it costs money to use LOTW, and they're wrong. It's free. It only costs if you want to get an ARRL award and redeem it towards an award. So that's it.
Nicely done, Neil.
Alan, you had a question? You're still muted.
You're muted, Alan.
Better. All right, Neil, thanks for doing this. Got a question for you. I've got a whole bunch of stuff piled up at Club Log. And how familiar are you with that?
Say that again. Your voice broke up a little bit.
I've got a whole bunch of QSLs in Club Log, and I'd like to know globally on Club Log how many I'm qualified for OQRS. Now I can do that with individual call signs. I can look up N4FN, and I can see, okay, if I know the exact date I worked you, I can look up that call sign. But what if I want to look up N4FN and KI7QI at the same time? Can I get a printout from Club Log showing all the potential calls I'm entitled to.
Okay. If you do a log search, you can only do a log search for one, I'm going to use the term country, okay, or person at a time. Even though we don't call them countries anymore, we call them entities. So, for example, if you go into Clublog and Alan wants to do a search, see if where I've worked N4FN, it will show every single call that I have made with you that I've entered into Clublog. Does that make sense? And it could be different dates. It could be 10 years worth of different contacts.
What I'm saying though is I use Clublog for DXpeditions to sometimes get my card from them early because I send them a couple of bucks, $2, $4, whatever it is. Well, I have to do that for each individual call sign. Is there a way to do that for every call sign that I can potentially get?
No, you have to do it individually, and not even though they're in Clublog, they may not use OQRS. You can do a search, and it will tell you if that station uses OQRS. Not every station uses it. Clublog will tell you. And then if they do use it, you can click and it will display the different times that you've worked. And it could be different dates, different years, doesn't matter. OQRS will tell you one at a time. Anything else? And Bob, you had a question earlier that you emailed me. And
No, it was from Alan.
Oh,
I think you answered this question.
okay. All right. I thought it was something else. I'm sorry.
No
But
problem.
any question, just drop me a note and I'll be glad to, get in touch. Well, give me a call. I love talking to people on the phone. It's a lot easier sometimes because I have to tell you, I'm a shitty typist. And Nancy's fast. She's fast. That's because she's smart. I'm a hunt and pecker.
Neil, I have a question. In the lineup of logging programs, I didn't see QSL.com.
I
You have
didn't. I didn't
you don't
attempt
like
to.
it or what?
No, I just didn't attempt to list them all.
Okay.
I wanted to show that there are a number of programs out there.
Because it has a seamless integration into Logbook of the World and Clublog. I mean,
yeah, it's whatever makes you happy and you like to use. That's what you should use. When I first started with electronic logging, um, I used DXBase. DXBase, unfortunately, no longer exists. DXBase was written by two. I don't remember whether it was still AT&T or Bell South at the time, but they both worked for Bell South. Dean Frederickson, WHZF, and Jack Lennox, AA4LU. And it got to be a real chore for them because they had full-time jobs maintaining it and they couldn't do it. So they sold it to a guy, Neil Chapman, I think, who promptly ran it into the ground. And that's when I switched over because there weren't a lot of programs available years ago. And I switched over to Ham Radio Deluxe when Simon Brown was writing it. And he's a Brit, lives in the UK now, but at that time he was living in Switzerland when Simon, he's still active, but he's doing different things with SDR radio right now. A smart guy, really good programmer, but the the different, there's so many programs out there that, DX Suite or DX Lab is very popular. It's got a very steep learning curve. A lot of people say HRD has got a steep learning curve. Not to me, because um, I've been using it for so long. As it matured and got more complex, it was easy for me to work with. It controls my rotor. I think DX Lab will do the same. To me, that's a bonus. It actually interfaces with my high gain rotor control, which controls a Yaesu rotor. It will do that. If that ever goes south with high gain, of course, no longer so far being viable, I'll have to go with Green Heron. Green Heron is a very good rotor control, but it's not cheap.
Hey, Neil?
Yes.
Hey, this is Rob here. I've got a quick question here, and my apologies if you already addressed this because I was having some connection issues for the first half hour or so. I just went through this process of applying for awards and endorsements last week, and I had a card checker do like 3 cards, and then the rest of it was Logbook of the World. I'm still not clear if when I go into my DXCC account, if I'll see the card credits in there as well. If so, are they indicated as cards, and then the rest are electronic? How does that work?
Okay. You're going to get if you LOTW. You did it through LOTW itself, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You're gonna get an update for that. That
Mm-hmm.
will probably be faster.
Yes, it
The
was. Yeah.
card checker has to send in the form that you printed out. It goes in, and there are some checks that they have to do, but you will get a separate report that will include your LOTW and your card checker's report. They'll be put together, but you'll get whichever one you get second is going to be the most current one.
Mm-hmm.
All you have to do is look at the totals. If the
Sure.
totals are different or newer in one or the other, then that's the most current one.
But that updated report, including the cards, doesn't show up in my electronic account that I can look at. Is that right? It's only in paper, or how? That's what
Well,
I'm fuzzy about.
um, it's funny the way it works. Paper cards are count for certain things, but they'll count for awards. That's a given. But the difference is, for example, the what do you call it? I have to look at it. The Challenge Award.
Mm-hmm.
That's different. That doesn't take into account the paper cards.
Oh, okay.
Challenge only takes into account what's done through LOTW.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's the problem. That's the problem I face because LOTW came out in, I believe it was in 1990. Well, obviously, between 1977 and 1990, there are quite a few contacts. So, in order for me to get credit for some of those old cards by mode and band, I have to submit those cards to the league, and then they will assign it because the original format didn't break it down the way it is today. So you
Okay.
don't know whether it was phone. Now here's a little clue. If it's your first DXCC award certificate, if you make a submission, and let me just say, all of your contacts, every single one, are sideband. Put one in for digital, just one, or CW, whatever, you automatically qualify for a mixed DXEC. So you get two DXEC certificates if you want it. You're going to get one that will say phone. They still use the word phone. And you'll get one that says mixed.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay. All right. Thanks. That helps.
Anything else, boys and girls? I can say girls because my wife's sitting here. She's keeping me straight.
It's a full-time job.
Oh, you got that right. Did you hear
Thank
what
you, Neil.
he said?
Neil,
it's a full-time job.
so Neil, if you do it all wrong, do you get an award that says PHONEY, phony?
Where's the delete button?
It says,
Where's the joke, right?
as was said in the military, you see the chaplain on the way out and he punches your TS card, and that stands for tough shit. No, it's pretty hard to screw up. Now, I've done it a number of times because, frankly, I wasn't paying attention, and it went into my logbook with the wrong entity because a lot of the, like for example, the French territories, they share common prefix, and you have to be careful. So, you can get one that's FT2, and I'll put it in as France, but the third letter after the T said G, which stands for Guadeloupe. So if you put it in as France, LOTW, it thinks it's France, and you'll never get a confirmation. So you have to go back in and then manually enter the contact, which you can do in LOTW with the correct country assignment. So that's where you have to be careful when you're dealing with an entity that has multiple prefixes. Okay.
Neil, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Educational.
Happy to do. It's fun for me to do.
Eric, he did mention something at the beginning. I don't know if you were on there about all of your old paper logs, how to get, there's somebody who will digitize them for you and put it into a file.
Oh, really? Oh,
Well, I'll tell you, if I had to type in and digitize, I'd still be typing because I'm a terrible typist. But this guy he loved doing it in Florida. He's retired, loved doing it. And boy, I said, go for it. But I still have all my original logs. Yeah, including this is one that shows Collins. I got that. I never owned Collins, but it was a Collins log. They all follow the same format. But I will tell you this. I don't care what system you use, make backups. Make backups because nothing is worse than going through that and losing the log. And I do make you can do a backup from LOTW, by the way. You can upload your log, and I do that to a thumb drive. That's easy to do. It's pretty simple.
Bob, thanks for organizing. As always, have a good week, guys.
Before you
Adios.
go, Brian, I got to ask you, do you know when the bands are going to get better?
They got better today. They got better while we were on this Zoom call. Evidently somebody made 400 contacts while we were on this call.
On 6 meter. 6 meter is actually on fire right now. I'm just
Really?
yeah, Northern Ireland is on 6 meter and FT8. So
Eric, this would not apply to us because we don't just go like that and call that
yeah,
a contact.
exactly.
Boom, boom, working it.
Hey, don't laugh because I've done that before while we were on the Zoom call
Yeah.
because I have 4 monitors. I'll have, for example, my digital running on one monitor while I'm on the Zoom, and I've worked calls and I've worked the CW contact. Well,
I do that sometimes when I'm at work at meetings.
You can easily multitask with
Right.
the FT8.
Yeah, I have 3 stations running on FT8, 6 meters, 20, 10, all at the
Yeah.
same time.
I personally I have a thing about 6 meters. I just can't get excited about 6 meters simply because when I first got my license, I ran a lot of 6 meter AM. And keep in mind, 1960, 6 meter AM, my neighbors hated me because it came right in on Channel 2's subcarrier and it would wipe out neighbors' television programs. And I would get nasty calls. That's not the case now.
It's a long time that I see 6 meter open that long. I mean, it's open the whole afternoon.
Yeah.
Normally it's for 20 minutes, half hour or so, but it's like constantly coming and going here. That's like unusual.
Yeah, it was good in the UK earlier today as well. I made a number of 6 meter contacts via sporadic E.
I mean, I see Isle of Man here on 6 meter, Northern Ireland. I saw some UK. I mean, and I just have a halo antenna here, nothing big, no beam or anything.
I haven't tried 6 meter, even though my Gap Challenger, the vertical, will run 6 meters. I never put the wires in on my hex beam for 6 meter. I only have 10 through 20, 10, 12, 15, 17, and 20 on the hex beam. But the next time I drop it down, which I hope to do this summer, because I want to run new coax, I have the 6 meter set, which will give me 2 elements, which is not great on 6 meters, but I'll give it a shot and see. But as I understand it, I haven't been following it. It can be open for 15 minutes and bam, it's gone.
Yeah, I mean, I constantly monitor it on one station, and it's sometimes open for 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then it's like somebody pulls the plug, like it's gone. But I never seen it. I mean, it's open now for the last 4 hours, and still.
I haven't tried 6, even though, as I said, the Gap Challenger and even the Step IR vertical will work 6 meters, but that I'll be lucky if I could work somebody on the next street.
By the way, I saw it. Oops, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry, I've got to go. Thank you very much, Neil, for the talk. Hope to see you on our Zoom meeting tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'll see you. I'll be on the Etraford Zoom tomorrow.
Yeah,
well,
okay.
It's night for you, it'll be afternoon for me.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, gentlemen, for allowing me to join you, and very pleased to make your acquaintance. Hope to see you again soon. Cheers for now. Bye.
Hey, before you leave, Phil, I have to admit that when I took the exam in the UK for my license, fellows asked me, did I have a problem with it? I said, actually, the only problem I had was the language barrier.
Understandable. Sims for all. Cheers.
By the way, I saw a message, I think it was on our thing that Step IR was no longer making consumer antennas.
Yes,
But
yes.
what are consumer antennas? That's what
That
I
you
ham
would buy if
radio.
you have a lot of money.
Ham radio antennas are going bye-bye.
all of them?
What part of going bye-bye do you not understand?
Yes.
I guess I'm in shock that
Yeah.
Step IR. I thought they were still very popular and all of
Well,
that.
the first clue, Eric, was they were not at Dayton this year.
Really? Oh.
That was the first clue. And then they just announced it. It was on the Step IR reflector.
Oh.
A
So
lot
they're
of the, I've been getting that because I have the Step IR vertical and the big, what they call big IR. And so I get the reflector because I like hearing some information that may be pertinent to me. But the guys were complaining about the lack of response. They don't answer phone calls, they don't answer email, and that's an indicator that things are not well in Music City.
Mm. So I guess you could say they're stepping down.
No. Please.
Will you please start that damn Eric filter?
Yeah, really.
Or they're stepping out, I guess you could say.
They actually, Eric, they're sticking with their commercial and military.
Oh, okay. They're going to continue that
Yeah.
then.
Or
Yeah.
they're out of step.
Oh my God.
Very good, Bob.
Don't encourage him. Don't encourage him.
If you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah, they
With the
had
step backwards, right?
they had a fellow who worked for them several years ago, Bart Has, and he was wonderful. He was their support guy, and when you called out there, that's who you talked to. But Bart left the company.
Mm. Wow, that's quite something.
Yeah, it was a shocker because a lot of people have
Yeah,
Step
there are.
IR antennas.
Uh-huh. And so after a while, if it breaks down, you can't get parts for it anymore.
They say that they're going to have parts until they run out.
Hmm.
And part of the issue is that it becomes difficult to get them.
Hmm.
You know, especially some of the electronic components, they're coming in from overseas.
Hmm.
And in their controller, what is it? Yeah, the 100 controller, that's the one I have over here. The chips that are used in that thing are plug-in. They're switched. They no longer make that chip as a plug-in. They only solder in. So apparently there is an adapter that you can solder the chip to this little board and then plug it in. But boy, oh boy, you talk about a mess.
Doesn't Jonathan also have a step IR?
Yeah, I think he does.
Yeah.
He may. Yeah.
Well, JK antenna.
Hmm.
You know, that's interesting because I sent Bill Schmidt, who he's a pretty sharp guy. No, very sharp guy. Let me change that. He's the guy who has the contestation and resonance down in the Caribbean, and he lives up in, I think, in Illinois. I asked him, because he stays on top of that stuff, if I had to replace my vertical, which one would you suggest? And that was the company that he suggested.
JK antennas, they're excellent.
Yeah, he said they're extremely well made, strong, and that the fellow who owns the company cares about the customers.
Well,
So
I had a Force 12 years ago,
Yeah,
and Force 12 went out of business or they died. I don't know. He took over the designs and upgraded them, and he still makes a fabulous. They're very well built, reasonably priced, but excellent equipment. JK antenna. Go on, Eric. Go online and look up JK antenna.
antennas, yeah.
They have
And
a
you
full
can,
line of antennas.
and you could say the force is with you then.
I won't even dignify that with an answer.
You said that's JK antennas?
Yeah.
Yes, Juliet
Yeah.
Kilo antennas.
yeah.
Well,
I
not
remember
being able to climb up a tower anymore, it might be some option that I want to look at.
Okay.
Well, I got news for you, Frankie. At our age, if I get near a tower, that's as close as I'm going to get, maybe 5 feet away.
I don't own a tower. That's not because of that.
You know,
Antenna has to grow from the ground up in the
Frankie, do you remember Johnny Beckman?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Before BTJ?
Yes, sir. BTC. Johnny and I put up each other's towers. And the last one I put up with Johnny was 75 feet. Both of us on the tower at the same time on opposite sides.
No.
Yeah, stacking. Wait, gets better. I looked down, and the wind had picked up, and the frickin' tower
Oh, gee.
is moving 3 feet either direction. And Johnny had a nickname, Farlow. That was his family name, middle name. And so he says, he's pointing out Stone Mountain, this and this and this. I said, Johnny, skip the freaking travelogue, look down. And he looks down, he says, oh shit. He said, get off the tower. I said, I can't. Why not? Your climbing belt's on top of mine. You go first.
Yeah.
And like a couple of the guys on the ground said, you never saw two white boys get off a tower faster. And I said,
Johnny had a lot of interest in RIDI. And I had a couple of leftover Model 14s. That's the one that prints out on a tape. You use it in office application where you're working with a telegraph board. And I had no way that I was going to be home enough to fiddle with the RIDI after all. So I wound up giving him two of those Model 14s and a Model 15, which is the bigger model. And he was going to come back and get a Model 28, which I had. And somehow he never got around to coming back over to get it. He didn't have room in his car at the time that he was there. So I wound up those, the Model 28 and another Model 15 wound up going in a dumpster whenever I sold a house down there a while back.
I had, Frankie, I had a Model 28 RO, and which came out of a weather station. And when I got it, it was pristine, but it had 100 word per minute gears. which was too fast. Well, my buddy David Adenich, WA4IYE, his brother worked for Ohio Bell, I guess it is, and he serviced their teletype machines. They were still, used a lot. So David called him, and his brother sent me, a new set of gears for the ham not for the ham speed, and it worked. And wound up when I went to electronic teletype. I gave the RO28 and the power supply to Johnny, and he had that in his shack.
You were talking about all of the QSLs becoming digitized in one form or another. The last QSL I ever sent was this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Back
Oh, yeah, that Matt Park.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a good group, Matt Park.
Yeah, it's frustrating that they wound up selling the building down there, ran Matt Park off the top.
Well, they stayed on. Jim Stafford, W4QO, he headed up the station that they had at the Sitrek. You remember that?
Yeah.
That was a nice station. Unless I'm wrong, the building is still there, and with the antenna on top of it, but the station's gone.
I haven't been down there in so many years. Oh boy.
Me and thee. I don't go to downtown Atlanta unless I had to, and I can't think of anything that would make me want to go.
I go around 285 to 166 to go down to where I used to live in East Point. And I guess the next time I'll go down there, they'll take me on a little further down to Union City and plant me there in Forest Lawn alongside my wife.
Don't be in a rush.
Well, one of these days, I guess. We'll see.
Oh, me.
I haven't attempted to send anybody a QSL card in 20 years.
Oh, I still send them out. Yeah.
Nobody seems to be interested in it up here. And I haven't had any lengthy contacts in it much since I'm just operating 75 meters on HF at the moment.
What's interesting, Frankie, is I still send out QSL cards. I got this thing about eagles.
Yeah.
And the backside, like I showed, the cards I use are printed by a fellow in the Ukraine, Gennady, and he's still able to produce the cards. He had to move his facility a little bit because of the war, but I worked him on the air not too long ago. He sounded good.
Well, since I had to do so much traveling once I got over here, after I left Shreveport area, I haven't made any attempts to work DX or anything like that. My work with AT&T was just all over the place. And then when I retired from them because of so much traveling, it turned out that the job with Motorola wasn't a hell of a lot better. Wound up going to so many schools and stuff. And then we had Oh, it was a
When
situation that happened out in Hoover Dam, where one of the engineers that I had worked with on a problem in Atlanta, where you wanted to couple up through a telephone line between two repeaters at either end of a tunnel that was being built from that main water location up to a location on Nancy Creek, where they dump stuff out after it was treated. And I managed to work that out to his real satisfaction after nobody else could. And he called and wanted them to send me out to Hoover Dam and work with them on a problem they had there with the coverage down into the gully part of the river below what the dam was while they were building that new bridge that went across. They had a lot of crap involved with that. Radios where they couldn't talk to each other, although they could look at each other and not get through. So we spent a couple of weeks out there, and then wound up going to a number of microwave schools, and seemed like I was traveling almost as much as I was whenever I was working with the other company. And that got frustrating.
Oh me. All
Okay,
right.
guys, I have to say goodbye. Take care of the dogs.
Adios.
See you next time.
Yep.
Bye.
All right. I guess I'll pull the plug if everybody's done.
Okay.
Till next time, fellas.
Enjoyed it.
Thanks, Neil.
Yep.
See you next week.
Was fun.
Got it.